What is up, guys? Fun with Knives here. Got a cool flipper for you guys to look at. This is the Sinkovich designed Kershaw Nura 3.5. This is the bigger version. They have a 3.0. Those are just the blade lengths. I decided to go a little bit longer with this one, and this is one heck of a flipper. At least that's what I thought, until I realized what makes a good flipper, and this is missing a few things. So I'm going to call this an entry-level flipper. I definitely think that's what this knife's calling is. So before we get into anything else, I'll give you guys the specs and I'll tell you what I like about this knife. This has a blade length of 3.5 inches, a close length of 4.5 inches, and an overall length of 8 inches with a weight of 3.8 ounces. So a tad bit on the heavy side because this thing's so thin, but it has an all steel handle. But it feels pretty light because, 8 inches at under 4 ounces, that's not bad. So this blade here is just that classic drop point, kind of a weird swedge taken out on top, if you guys can see that. The blade is titanium carbonitride coated. It looks just like the Cryo and the Cryo 2, the same coating on them. The blade's nice and thin. Features kind of a high hollow grind, good slicer. It's got a nice acute tip, and on here on this back side you have the model number and Sinkovich design. So all in all, I like the blade. It really reminds me kind of the Injection, the kind of kitchen steak looking knife, and it's definitely useful. I'm not a huge fan of thin blades. That's just kind of my preference. I like the fat, big bellied knives. But this one works pretty good, and the only reason I really carry this thing is because it's fun to play with, of course, and it takes up almost no pocket real estate. You can throw this in any pocket, and because it's so thin, this thing just, inch and a half maybe at its widest point. It's awesome. Awesome in the pocket, okay when you're actually using it, and if you need to perform. So this is deployed by this very large flipper tab here. It rides on Kershaw, or this is actually Kai's invention, a KVT ball bearing system, very similar to CRKT's IKBS. They're just kind of caged ball bearings around the pivot that this initial motion, once you get past the D10, is going to fling the blade out there without the need of speed safe or a spring or anything like that. And it is wicked fast. When I first got this knife, this was the only knife I had that flipped that wasn't assisted. So I was like, man, this thing's so smooth, and this is the best flipper ever. I'm never going to buy another flipper. And I realized that this thing's missing a couple key features. This thing is smooth though, so if you look, this thing wants to be closed. You can shake it closed. Opens up. It's great. But the detent on this knife is not very good. So if you look at it, it does suck back into the handle, but at kind of a low point. And that means that your knife can fail a lot. Because there's not a whole lot of resistance for you to press this flipper out, you really got to press it in the right way with the right amount of force to get that knife out. Or you could be safe and just kind of give it a little wrist flick to make sure it locks up every time. So I like the KVT ball bearings. ZT uses them, Kershaw's kind of sister brand, and everyone loves those. But those are a little bit better designed flippers. They use the same system, but it's a little bit more intricate with a knife that costs $250 versus this one, which MSRP is at $60. So I do like it. IKBS I found is a little bit better at the same price point. At least, I haven't had a whole lot of KVT ball bearing systems, but the main point here is that this knife is a great starter flipper. If you want to get into the flipper, sorry guys, and the frame locks, the Nura is a great entry-level one. So this flipper does have some jimping on it, nice and easy to access. It creates a large finger guard for your hand. This handle is just 410 steel. It's got sanded titanium carbonitride coating. So the same one that's sanded, kind of looks satin finished. It's got these cool futuristic designs in it. Kind of reminds me of like a sci-fi movie or something. It's very glossy, very gentlemanly. If I need, if I'm wearing a suit or something nicer to work, or slacks or something, this is a great knife to throw in there because it looks like a gentlemanly folder, and I definitely think it fits that bill. We do have a frame lock on this side. It's fairly thin, but it hits the blade right where you'd like it to. That's something that a lot of my knives have been getting good at is their locks, whether it's liner locks or frame locks, are actually very well designed for the price point. There's no blade play whatsoever. You kind of have a satin pivot here. And this clip is actually one of my favorite things. It's super simple. There's one screw. It just fits the knife. It's got that gray coating just like this blade does. So all in all, this is a classy looking knife. And the best feature by far is that it's thin in this dimension and also thin in this. So it's nice and streamlined. There is some good jimping on top. It's not too sharp, but it's not like that cryo jimping that's just too wide and too rounded. So I can get some good traction on this without it feeling like some sort of tactical knife. And this is definitely not that. I mean, granted, this does have a long blade with a steel frame lock, but it just doesn't have the inherent strength to do it. It's too thin, and I'd be afraid of that, that metal buckling or something like that. You got some ridges, some jimping here on the back, and I'm not super familiar with any of Sinkovich's designs. I've definitely looked at his offerings through ZT and Kershaw and a couple of his customs, and it seems to be a trend that he likes these thinner knives that don't really take up a whole lot of pocket real estate, like I said, and they're very cool looking. I mean, this is a cool looking knife, no doubt. So you got Kershaw's little logo in here. I didn't mention that. You can't really even see it right there. And this pocket clip is reversible. It is tip up only. And that's really about it, guys. I mean, this might have an integral backspacer or lanyard loop in there. I did not even think about that. That's cool. So all in all, guys, the blade centering on this was pretty good. I've been using it a ton and didn't Loctite it, so it's pretty good. I like this knife. I don't really recommend it unless you're a huge fan of flippers. Other than that, I mean, you can find other knives at this price point that are performed much better. This thing is on sale at a lot of places. So Blade HQ, Knife Center, and a lot of places have it for 22 bucks or 20 bucks. That's a steal for this. Go ahead and pick one up if you like the flippers. But if you're just looking for a good everyday carry knife or a good gentleman's EDC, I don't think the Nura is that great. I mean, it's got par materials. It's a cool design, but nothing really jumps out at me even when I carry this. I just like it because it's nice and thin. Ergonomics are super simple. I mean, you obviously get a 4-finger grip. If you needed to use a reverse grip, it's not bad. Actually, that's a little bit more comfortable than the a normal saber grip. But I'm not going to take this out backpacking. I'm not going to take this as some sort of self-defense tool, whatever that means. This is just strictly for if I want something different that I can flip around all day. So thanks for watching, guys. I'm going to have more knife reviews coming up very shortly. I might even do a few more today. And make sure to like and subscribe if you like the videos, guys. Thanks.